So we are moving up through the spine. We've looked at the sacrum, the pelvis, the lumbar, and now we're moving up through the thoracic spine. And in this model, we see 12 blue thoracic vertebrae. T1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And we see that the thoracic spine is kyphotic. So when we look at the curves of the spine, we have two different curves, the kyphotic curves and the lordotic curves, curve inwards, kyphotic curves, curve outwards. Each thoracic vertebra is attached to a pair of ribs. So T1 up here has your first rib, and that lies just underneath your collarbone up here. And then you've got the second pair of ribs, third pair of ribs, fourth pair of ribs, fifth pair of ribs, 6 and 7. And they attach to the breastbone, the sternum at the front of the body. And we call those true ribs because the bones go all the way around from the vertebral column and attach to the front of the body as one piece of bone with fibrous joints. When you get down beyond T7, you've got false ribs. There'll be a varying number depending on what kind of spine you have, but 8, 9, 10. So these are the ribs that come halfway round, sort of around about here. You can feel them, palpate them in your own body, and then where the bone stops, it then becomes cartilage, and the cartilage continues around, and the cartilage of your your false ribs connects up to the 7th rib bone, and that's how they join to the front of the body. And because they don't connect all the way around to the sternum, that's why they're called false ribs. But the cartilage does connect to the lowest 7th rib. And then the last two vertebrae of the thoracic spine in this model, 11 and 12, are your floating ribs, and they don't go very far. They just kind of sit around the back here. They're quite bendy, and they attach to some of your deep core muscles, your quadratus lumborum muscles and your psoas muscles, they're very important attachment sites for those deep core muscles. So the movements of okay, let's continue to talk about function and structure. This whole cage, your rib cage, your thoracic spine, this whole area protects your internal organs of your lungs. So the lungs fill up the top part of that thoracic region, your air body, and they protect lower down. They protect some of your abdominal organs, kind of the stomach and the liver, particularly around that area. So under the air body, you have the water body, the abdominal body, and that is intersected with the diaphragm. Diaphragm attaches quite high up near the sternum and quite low down here, so it's kind of like a big dome sheet of muscle that separates the air body and the water body, and obviously it facilitates breathing. Then the movements then, so for some people, we were talking about hinges in the back. You might have less boniness than other people. So when bone hits bone, it prevents movement. If your bone's a little bit more rounded, then you have more available movement because your bones are not going to compress and touch each other. So some people have a reasonably good ability to backbend, but most of us will find that the spinal processes that stick out knock together. You can see particularly in this region they touch. So there's not going to be a huge amount of extension in your upper body, perhaps a little bit more lower down here, where the bones resemble more of a thoracic, a lumbar shape. But you can get a fairly good range of flexion. So when bones move closer together, we think of the spinal vertebra as being at the front, although they, contrary to what we kind of intuitively think of the backbone, the bones move closer together at the front to cause flexion and move apart from each other at the back. And so we have quite a good ability to flex the spine, less ability to extend the spine, as we're saying. The bones at the back compress against each other, and that prevents movement and back bending. We have a good range of rotational movement in the spine. Each of the facet joints has a small range of rotational movement, but when you add that range together as you move up the spine, we've got pretty good rotation. And if you want to explore rotating, try to move through the base of the rib cage, the bottom ribs, the mid ribs and the top ribs to get there's a varying range of rotational movement through that section of your spine. So some bits of it are more rotational than others. So you'll explore how much rotation you've got in different areas. And again, that's going to be different for everybody. The more spiky and bony you are in your backbone, the less range of movement you're going to have in a very generalised way. And we've got a reasonable range of lateral flexion in the thoracic spine. What stops you from going further might be the ribs meeting and creating compression, bone on bone compression of the ribs, and also of course the facet joints. But yeah, it's quite a mobile part of your body, your upper body. Alright, so good. I think what we'll do is end that there, and we'll move up to the cervical spine next. Thank you for watching.